In a bustling city where the cacophony echoed from every corner, a young woman named Maya walked down a sidewalk that felt both familiar and foreign. People hurried past her, lost in their own conversations, laughter, and thoughts. The sun cast a warm glow on the pavement, and the scent of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air from a nearby cafe. Yet, amidst the chaos, Maya felt a profound sense of invisibility. She was just another face in the crowd, an unrecognized figure moving through the fabric of a vibrant life that seemed to pulse all around her. Maya couldn't shake the feeling that no one really saw her. It was an unsettling sensation, like being a ghost floating through the lives of others. She'd often lose herself in her thoughts, replaying conversations long after they ended, dissecting every word and gesture, imagining hidden judgments lurking in the minds of those she interacted with. It had become a painful habit that gnawed at her joy, and it made her question her worth. Standing at the corner of a busy intersection, she watched as a surge of people crossed the street. Some laughed together, their heads bent in shared moments of joy. Others walked alone, earbuds in, completely absorbed in their own worlds. Maya thought about the last time she spent hours reflecting on a conversation she'd gone over in her mind. Did she make a fool of herself? Was she seen as awkward or boring? Each time she tried to recall how someone else reacted to her, she found herself caught in the spiral of self-doubt. With each passing moment of introspection, the truth dawned on her more vividly. While she was trapped in her narrative of inadequacy, the others were likely too caught up in their own lives to even notice her internal battle. This cycle of overthinking wasn't foreign to many, and as Maya continued to watch the world around her, it occurred to her that this sensation of invisibility was a shared experience. People kept their heads down as they walked, focused on the screens in their hands or the anxieties racing through their minds. Each was lost in their story, chasing after the acceptance and validation they believed would solidify their existence. And then there was the age of social media. Maya reflected on her online presence, how she carefully curated her life through snapshots and statuses, hoping for likes and comments that acted like salves to her insecurities. After she posted a new picture, she would find herself glued to her phone, refreshing the page, waiting for approval from strangers and acquaintances. When the likes didn't come in as quickly as she hoped, her mind spiraled again. Had she shared something too mundane? Did her friends find her boring? Was she embarrassing herself? With each unanswered question, she sunk deeper into her self-created maze of anxiety. But the truth was, a painful realization she grappled with, most people were too wrapped up in their own thoughts and feeds to dwell on hers for long. The post she agonized over faded quickly into the abyss of the internet, overshadowed by the next round of updates showcasing the highlight reels of other lives. Stepping back, she knew that what seemed like a personal critique was just a fleeting moment in the chaos of existence. This understanding began to unlock something within her. Slowly, the tangled web of self-inflicted judgment started to unravel. Maybe, she mused, she didn't have to carry the burden of their opinions after all. Perhaps the key was understanding that she held the power to shape her own feelings about herself, without needing external validation. Her journey of self-discovery led her to dive deeper into this notion of perception. The realization that people were not constantly scrutinizing her was incredibly liberating. She recalled an age-old piece of wisdom she had heard before. We're not invisible. We're just not as important to others as we often think. Once she embraced this, the weight of living under constant observation started to lighten. The fears that clung to her, a fear of judgment, a fear of being irrelevant, began to dissipate as she grasped the understanding that life wasn't a stage where everyone was watching her performance. There was something transformative about this perspective shift. The more she found liberation in her identity, the more she began to appreciate her individuality. Every time she caught herself overthinking, she reminded herself. No one has the power to define me but me. With this newfound clarity, Maya sought out opportunities to embrace authenticity instead of conformity. She recognized that real connections were often formed in moments of vulnerability, in conversations where authenticity reigned over perfection. She decided to share more of her true self with the world, both online and off. In her daily interaction, she began to engage more openly, allowing herself to be seen and heard without filters or pretenses. Her efforts weren't met without bumps along the road. There were moments when she slipped back into her old habits, caught off guard by self-doubt or the sting of perceived judgment from others. Yet, every time it happened, she approached these feelings with compassion rather than criticism. Instead of berating herself for her slips, she learned to examine where these feelings were coming from, understanding that these were the remnants of old patterns that take time to dissolve. As Maya's sense of self continued to grow, so did her attention to the people around her. She started noticing faces in the crowd, the stories hidden behind familiar expressions, and understanding that everyone else she encountered was living in their own narrative. She began to wonder how many others felt as invisible as she once had. Inspired by this insight, she made a conscious effort to reach out to others, to acknowledge their presence, to engage in genuine conversations, to listen. More often than not, she found that people welcomed her warmth and sincerity. It was through these connections that she began to see the beauty of shared experiences, the depth of empathy, and the power of understanding. Maya realized that opening herself up not only helped her find her footing, but also created a ripple effect that sparked light in others too. By acknowledging the humanity in others, she encouraged them to let down their guards. As she opened herself, they opened too, forming bonds that were honest and real. One day, while sitting in her favorite cafe, an idea struck her as she observed an old man sitting alone at the table across from hers. He was reading a newspaper, his brow furrowed as he scanned the pages. Maya felt a twinge of recognition looking at him. She had been that person once. Perhaps there was a story behind that furrowed brow. Without overthinking it, she decided to approach him. "Do you mind if I join you?" she asked, her voice steady. He looked up with surprise before nodding, motioning to the empty chair. "Not at all." They struck up an easy conversation. At first, it was small talk about the weather, but as they exchanged stories about their lives, the old man revealed that he had recently lost his wife. The furrow in his brow was born from a sea of grief that had settled in his heart. Maya listened intently, providing him the space to share his burden. "I'm not sure how to keep going without her," he admitted, his voice tinged with sadness. In that moment, Maya realized the power of being present for someone else, as she shared pieces of her own journey of learning to embrace life without the weight of other people's perceptions. She reminded him that every story holds significance, every experience contributes to the richness of life, and that it was okay to seek connection, to share pain, and to find comfort in camaraderie. After their conversation, the old man left with a small smile, a glimmer of light on his face that hadn't been there before. Maya felt that familiar warmth blossom within her, one of fulfillment and gratitude. In her decision to step out of her bubble and reach out to him, she'd inadvertently transformed two lives that day, hers and his. As weeks passed, she began to cultivate a community where the struggles of invisibility and the yearning for connection were openly discussed. Gathering friends and acquaintances, they formed a group to share their stories, their fears, their hopes, and the very essence of their authenticity. They spoke about their experiences with social media and the false narratives that often clouded their self-perceptions. Conversations around likes and follows became opportunities for education and growth. Together, they created a manifesto about living authentically, not letting online personas dictate their real-world identities, empowering each other to bridge the gap between who they were and who they wanted to be. One day, as Maya prepared for a community event where they would share their stories, she stood before the mirror, looking at the reflection of a woman transformed. Thoughts of invisibility had now melted into an understanding of her role in the collective experience of humanness. She could feel how each scar, each battle with self-worth, contributed to bringing her to this moment. When the day arrived, people gathered, sitting in a large circle, exchanging energy and warmth. Maya opened the floor, inviting everyone to share their truth, and as each voice began to rise, it reverberated through the air like a chorus. Stories of vulnerability echoed back and forth, of longing for acceptance, of failing to meet societal standards, and of the battle against self-doubt. With every narrative shared, the weight of oppression lifted, replaced by a soothing balm of understanding. As she listened to her peers, Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose emerging. The ritual of shared stories served not only as catharsis, but united them all in solidarity. Each laugh, each tear, each sigh reflected collective struggles and the beauty of resilience. They learned together, empathized together, and as the sun began to set, Maya felt a shift in the atmosphere. Their fears transformed into hopes, their isolation into connection. She understood now that no one was truly invisible. They were merely caught in waves of perception crafted by their insecurities and comparisons. The act of sharing their truths emboldened them, creating a safe space where they could shed the egos that kept them apart, allowing the authentic selves to shine through. As the final speaker shared her story fraught with tears, yet glimmering with empowerment, Maya looked around the circle, witnessing a radiant shift. They had come together not only to listen, but to uplift each other into a harmonious alignment. In that moment, Maya recognized the fundamental truth she had yearned to uncover. Together, they rewrote the narrative, transforming involuntary invisibility into shared presence. The event marked a new beginning for Maya. Their circle expanded, reaching more individuals hungry for connection. She became an advocate for authenticity, sharing her story far and wide, aiming to empower others to step out from the shadows of judgment and embrace the light of their true selves. Life became richer, vibrant, and fulfilling. Maya reveled in painting a canvas of experiences that embrace both joy and pain, knowing that authenticity thrives in imperfection. She learned the importance of breathing into the present moment, welcoming each day as it comes, unencumbered by the weight of external validation. As months passed and seasons changed, Maya continued her journey of self-discovery. With every step forward, she carried the lessons she had learned in her heart, a reminder that the stories we hold are meant to be shared, that connection thrives in our authenticity, and that no one is ever truly invisible in the tapestry of life. Maya had transformed her solitude into community, her fears into hopes, and her sense of invisibility into a beacon of empowerment. The girl who once felt lost in the crowd now stood tall, reminding others that being seen was not about the approval of strangers. It was about allowing oneself to be fully present, to live wholeheartedly, and to recognize that their stories, just like their existence, held boundless value in the world. And so, dear reader, the journey of transformation and connection continues. What began as an exploration of personal narratives blossomed into an embrace of shared experiences where authenticity flourishes and true connections form, illuminating lives long hidden in shadows. May you embrace your own story, and in doing so, offer light to those who find themselves wandering in silence. Life, after all, is not about being seen. It's about being true to oneself and finding the beauty in each moment shared with the world.